afternoon, good evening to everyone from across the globe. I'm Edith Reitzis. I'm the Director of Outreach and Development for Friends of the Daniel Centers. As you see, we're recording this session, and of course, you can feel free to share it with friends and colleagues once we have it ready for you. Thank you for the new faces. It's great to see our loyal friends on the Zoom call today. And then, as you know, it's been an unprecedented week in Israel, and we're very grateful for our guest speaker who's time today to speak with us. For those of you new to the Ambassador Circle events, these are our way of keeping the dialogue and connections between committed diaspora Jews like you and fellow Israelis connected and strong. We've had many esteemed speakers, like Chairman Almog. We've had co-Prime Minister Tzipi Livni, Knesset members and ministers, Idan Hall, Tamar Zandberg, retired Supreme Court justices, and esteemed journalists. So this is a really wonderful gathering where thank you for being here. We want to thank our supporters, our board members who are on the call. And I'm going to hand this over now to Rabbi David Gelfand of the Temple Israel of the City of New York. He's led this congregation since 2007 and is a wonderful rabbi. And if you ever get a chance in New York, you should go to his congregation. And he's a great friend and supporter of our work as well. So without further ado, Rabbi Gelfand.
David, unmute yourself, please.
Thank you very much, as I unmute myself. Thank you. You know, I've never had to do that before. A few times a day. It is a pleasure and honor to be with you, and of course, our very, very special friend here, who I was privileged to be with just a few weeks ago with a couple of congregants with him, and also again when I was in Israel right after 10/7. This morning, I offer this not only in the spirit of Beit Daniel and Meir, and of course, those of us who care so deeply for the work of our movement in Israel, but also I do so in the spirit of the Sachnut and of our guest today. Amira was with us with the speaker this past Shabbat, one of his colleagues there, and we're honored and privileged to be able to have that relationship in other ways too. I do so as I offer this prayer for the state of Israel, which is customary in such meetings for those of us who are new. But I do so in the spirit of, after past Shabbat, receiving from a dear friend in Israel, a picture of the sky lit up at night, of course, with rockets and the like. And it began at the top, Nes Gadol Hayapo. To be in Israel, she wrote, was to be witness and to live through a modern miracle tonight. I do so also in the spirit of words of Ali Yerushalmi, who said blessings of 100 times a day, endless and enduring waves of gratitude for another chance to keep loving this very dear and only life. And also of Almog Solovyk, as he spoke of, if you listen with your soul, you will understand that no amount of warning prepares the heart for wreckage aimed at your life, and no amount of gratitude is enough praise for the morning light. We share the light again with our brothers and sisters in Israel, with Meir and his incredible congregation in Tel Aviv area, as we offer Avinu Shabashamayim Sur Yisrael V'Goalo, Varech et Medidat Yisrael, Rishit Smichat Ge'ulatenu. Protector, rock, and redeemer of Israel, bless the state of Israel, which marks the dawning of hope for our redemption. Shield it beneath the wings of your steadfast love and spread over it the shelter of your peace. May a spark of your spirit inspire the actions of its president, prime minister, official judges, and advisors, that they may follow the path of righteousness, liberty, and freedom. Strengthen the hands of those who build and protect our holy land, and grant them salvation and life. Grant peace to this land and everlasting joy to its inhabitants. Be near to all the people of Israel throughout the lands of their dispersion. Plant within their hearts the love of Zion, and may those of our people who are so inspired come to Jerusalem, your city which bears your name. Spread your spirit over all the inhabitants of our land, uproot hatred and jealousy and evil, plant in our hearts love and peoplehood, peace and friendship and speed. Fulfill the vision of your prophet. Nation will not lift up sword against nation, neither will they learn war anymore. And let us together around the world say,
Amen.
Amen.
Great. Thank you, Rabbi Gelfand. So, Mayor and Chairman Almog, Rabbi Gelfand, if you can now introduce the chairman. You're on mute.
Mute.
He's stuck. So I will take the opportunity to introduce Doron Almog. Those who doesn't know me, probably you are knowing me. Meir Azari, Senior Rabbi of Daniel Center for Progressive Judaism, former director of the Reform Movement in Israel and the chairperson of Rabbinical Association. I had the privilege to be in the committee that selected Doron Almog to head the Jewish Agency. I think that we did a wonderful job. We had a tough job, almost a year until Doron Almog came. I have learned to get to know during that process a great guy, not just a soldier and a brave guy and a smart guy, but through the interviews that we had with him, we discovered that we're dealing with a mensch. And this is the reason why I raised my hand, and I was one of those who supported Doron Almog to head the Jewish Agency. Since then, Doron entered to really a very complicated time, and he's doing a wonderful job in the Jewish Agency. His former roles were in the Israeli army. He was a soldier and a commander in elite units, many elite units in the Israeli army. He commanded the area of Gaza and the South Command. And I think that it brings with him a lot of knowledge and ability to understand, I hope, what is going on right now in the South. Since he left the army, he went to deal a little bit with business, but mainly with NGOs. And the beautiful creation that he created, and I believe, Doron, as I know you, you will talk about that. He created the Nachalat Iran with his wife, Didi, and friends, a place that is really symbolized, I think, more than any other things, the beauty of the Israeli society and what we can do. And we don't do enough. And I believe that Doron will talk about Nachalat Iran as well and his personal story. So Doron, welcome to our ambassador circle. And I'm really appreciate your time. I know that you're a very busy person and you're chairing one of the large, if not the large, Jewish NGO in the world. And so many stuff in your table. First, Doron, we ask those who join us since October 7, generals and journalists and politicians, what happened in October 7? You commanded, as I said earlier, Gaza area and the southern command of the state of Israel. You know the area probably more than most of the Israelis and probably the people around the world. What happened to us? What happened in October 7?
Hubris, one word, hubris. Arrogance, hubris. It was a huge failure, but it's very similar to the Yom Kippur War, to what happened to us after the 67, after the Six-Day War. After Six-Day Wars, where we were intoxicated by the glorious victory. I think it's a psychological effect that may happen even to basketball team winning time by time and being intoxicated by victories. So we were in a bubble of illusion before October 7, thinking that we have a superior technology, Hamas is deterred. And there was a concept that Hamas understands that he unable to fight state of Israel. The state of Israel and the IDF is much, much stronger, having superior technology. So we were surprised by the Hamas brutal attack on Shabbat, Simchat Torah, October 7. And as you know, few against many, about 3,000 terrorists crossed the border in about 40 places from Gaza to the nearest kibbutzim, Gaza envelope communities, and simultaneously attack and brutally killed and beheaded and raped and so on. And you know, but it's all resulted, as I started, by a kind of hubris. And it may happen again. I was a commander in the Yom Kippur War, and 2 weeks before this war started, I was asked in interview if another surprise may happen. And I say, yes, it's a psychological effect. We may surprise again. And it happened just a few weeks later. And that's it. This is the reason. This is the reason. Well, we thought that we are superior, having great technology, Iron Dome. They are deterred. They want to attack us.
And from this point, the situation in Gaza, what is going on according to your understanding? You, as I said earlier, you commanded that area. You know Gaza probably very well. What is the option right now? Should we go to Rafah? What do you think needed to be in this point?
Number one priority, from my opinion, should be bringing back the hostages. We still have in Gaza 133 hostages. And Gaza, most of Gaza destroyed and most of Hamas forces destroyed. Of course, there are terrorists all over. There are 2 million. Number one, there are 2 million Palestinians living in Gaza. Ideologically, most of them Hamas, and many of them will continue fighting against the IDF. But right now, Gaza or Hamas conquered. Most of Hamas forces destroyed. There is one enclave, which is the South Rafah, the south side of the southern side of Gaza Strip, the border between Egypt and Gaza, which is Rafah. Rafah, by the way, was cut according to the peace accord with Egypt, 1979, and according to Anwar Sadat decision, Gaza was cut in the middle, part of the half of Rafah in the Egyptian side, half in the Israeli side, and there is a corridor that maintain tunneling and smuggling from Sinai to Gaza. And the main source of smuggling was Iran through Sinai. However, right now there are about 4 battalions of Hamas. Battalion is about 400 terrorists, 400 warriors. So altogether, nearly 2,000 terrorists in this structure of 4 battalions in Rafah, in tunnels under the ground, and due to the sensitivity of the region, because it's a border between Egypt, Israel, Israel, and Gaza Strip, due to the sensitivity of this border and the humanitarian issue in Gaza, there is a lot of pressure of the United States not to start fighting inside Gaza, because about 2 million Gazans were pushed from the north, and most of them right now concentrated in the south. So the United States concerned that some or many Palestinians would be injured or killed by Israeli attack. It is not my concern. The IDF is the most moral military in the world, and the IDF knows very well to fight only against those who holding weapons. Of course, there is collateral damage and buildings that were destroyed due to the simple fact that Hamas built this structure in tunnels and in hospital and in schools and kindergarten all over. And Hamas, as a matter of fact, Hamas forces, Hamas terrorists, hided in or used the civilians as a human shield. So IDF right now is prepared to get inside Gaza and do a surgical operation to fight against the other Hamas terrorists. I believe also many of the hostages are there. There is a lot of pressure from United States not to start fighting in Rafah due collateral damage that may bring casualties to the Palestinian. Also, the United States want United States interest to lead a deal that would maybe bring the end to the war in Gaza and bring back the hostages to Israel. As we know, there are three partners at least, or more than three partners: United States, Hamas, Israel. The other partners, Qatar, Egypt. But Hamas right now refused to the terms that were issued by United States, not by Israel, by United States. Basically, Hamas asking that IDF forces will pull out from Gaza and complete ceasefire. Israel, of course, want to continue fighting and destroying Hamas forces in order to guarantee that in the future, no Hamas battalions or Hamas terrorists would be placed near the border and surprisingly attack the Jewish communities, the Gaza envelope communities, which is about 50 kibbutzim, Sderot, Netivot, all the communities. Need to remember that right now, most of the Israelis that were living near the Gaza border evacuated. We have about 80,000 Israelis, some of the members from my family, 2 members from my family from Kibbutz Kfar Aza were killed, Nadav Goldstein Almog and his daughter, Yam Goldstein Almog, 19 years old soldier. He was 49 and he was killed, and his daughter was killed in front of the other, where there were 6 in their home in Shabbat, Saturday, Kfar Aza. Terrorists penetrated their home and the kibbutz. They were not prepared. There were no weapon. They were helpless. However, after a few hours in their home, terrible time together, the terrorists shot Nadav 2 bullets, lodged 2 bullets in his chest, and 1 bullet below the left eye of the daughter, Yam, in front of the others. Chen Almog Goldstein, 49 years old, friend of Nadav from 14 years in a kibbutz. Chen was taken hostage together with the second daughter, Agam, 18 years old, and 2 boys, Gal and Tal, 11 and 9. And there were 51 days in hostage in Gaza and get back. So speaking about the future, Israel needs to guarantee, number one, that the Israelis, and among them my family, can get back and live in the kibbutzim, in the communities. Right now, the kibbutzim are like ghost communities. No one is there. You need to understand, but more than 6 months, as I said, about 80,000 Israelis evacuated, living in motels in the Dead Sea, in Eilat, in Tel Aviv, in Netanya, and north of Israel, and also 70,000 Israelis evacuated from the north due to the terrible heat of Hezbollah, and there is huge destruction also among our communities in north of Israel. So altogether, about 150,000 Israelis are refugees, just like that. Refugees in center of Israel. I met, for instance, I met one of the of the hostages, former hostages, Shushan Aran. She was also 51 in Gaza, and today she told me, I'm unable to get back. I won't be able to get back to. She is also from one of the kibbutzim, Be'eri. She is from kibbutz Be'eri. Her husband was killed. Her son still, her son Tal, hostage in Gaza, almost 200 days. And she said, I'm unable to get back to live in Be'eri. And there are many like me. She assumed about 20% of the Israelis were living along the border, along the Gaza border, unable to get back. And they're really refugees suffering huge trauma. So speaking about what Israel want to, inside Gaza, the IDF forces want to guarantee that no another attack will happen. I want you to know that according to the testimonies of my family that were hostages in Gaza, Agam and Chen, they had been told by the captors, by the terrorists that hold them, never get back to Kfar Aza. If you come back, we'll come again and slaughter you. So IDF and the State of Israel need to guarantee terrorists won't come back and Hamas won't be able to have military power. So the intention of IDF in Rafah to destroy the 4 Hamas battalion, as I said, and also to bring back the hostages. Now, what on the table? A table that Hamas want to prevent the IDF attacking the remainder of Hamas forces in Rafah, and the negotiation about ending the war, leaving these 4 battalions alive, maybe supply them the ability to continue fighting against the State of Israel. In return, maybe get back the hostages. In return, the terrorists will get many of these terrorists, about 5,000 terrorists to hold in Israel. And there is a ratio that on every hostage, Israel would release 3 or 4 or 5. It depends what time of the negotiation, but Hamas want the highest number of terrorists to be released and get back to Gaza. So what is the Hamas interest? Hamas interest, of course, to stay in power. In respect of humanitarian supply to the 2 million Palestinians living in Gaza, until now, Hamas is the power that take control over the supply, which is food and medicine and drugs and so on. And Hamas is the one to dispense and give the Gazans this humanitarian assistance. What Israel want to guarantee that in the future Hamas won't be continue any longer in power, and other moderate Gazans will take over. What's on the table? Of course, the Palestinian Authority, which is based on Fatah, the PLO, the Palestinian Liberation Organization, which assumed as secular, not religious as Hamas, but according to the history of the PLO, or the Palestinian Liberation Organization, or Palestinian Authority of Abu Mazen or Arafat, they continue funding terrorists. They continue educating the children in the West Bank and the children in Gaza. Of course, they are ideologically continue the idea of Sharia. So that's, maybe I did it a little bit longer.
It's okay. It's okay. Doron, let's move for a second from Gaza, the situation there, which is we all understand complicated. You gave us a little bit perspective. Let's move for a second, if you can, to what happened last weekend with Iran. I mean, you as a former general in the Israeli army, somebody that knows this world and the threat, what is going on? I mean, should
Number
we
one, we need
retaliate?
to,
Should we shouldn't retaliate? What is your observation in this situation? Very complicated one.
yeah. Number one, we need to understand that the ideology of Hezbollah in the north, Hamas in the south, and Iran, the ideology is the same. There is no place for a Jewish state between the Jordan River and the Mediterranean. There is no place for Jews to live. Their declaration, the Hamas Convention, and Iran leaders say day and night that there is no place for Jewish state in the Middle East. State of Israel is enveloped by, as you know, by millions of Islams, and the good point that some of them that in the past did not recognize the State of Israel existence, some of them recognize it. We have a peace accord with Egypt. We have peace accord with Jordan. We have a peace accord according to Abraham Accord. We have also peace accord with some of the Gulf countries, and on the table maybe to have another peace accord with the Saudis. And according to the United States vision, there is one axis that would be supported by United States, which is Israel, Egypt, Jordan, Gulf countries, Abraham Accord Gulf countries, and Saudi Arabia, which is we may call it the Sunni axis. On the other side, the opposition is the Shia. Shia axis is led by Iran. Extremist ideology against the State of Israel, do not recognize the State of Israel. This is the reasons that Iran continue developing nuclear capacity and to be the strongest power in the Middle East. And the Shia axis is led by Iran, supported by Russia and China. And right now we also hear Turkey, which in the past considered as moderate Islam, but Turkey right now on the side of the Shia, supported the Hamas and supported the Shia axis. So what's the vision of Iran? A vision of Iran to have greater control. And Hamas and Iran using the Hezbollah in the north as a proxy. They are occupied, they are armed by Iran. They use, just yesterday, 18 Israeli soldiers were badly, critically wounded by a drone that was produced in Iran. And this drone from Lebanon attacked the Israeli soldiers, one of them in critical condition until now. But who produced this drone? Iran. Iran also is a supplier of drones to Russia in the Russia-Ukraine war. Iran having high technology, long-range missiles, and Iran continue developing nuclear power, not only for peace, for Iran stating that the combination of long-range ballistic missiles with nuclear capacity may give Iran superiority in the Middle East and the ability to destroy the state of Israel, just like that. So Israel is fighting terror in the north, Hezbollah, which is a proxy of Iran. Hamas is a proxy of Iran. And the conflict between Israel and Iran started long time ago when the Shah revolution, or the Islamic revolution against the Shah, 1979 happened, as you know. And since 1979, or until 1979, Israel had good relationship with Iran. I believe in the future we may also have peace with Iran. The Iranian are very intelligent, many of them, I believe even today, many of them willing to have peace with Israel. But Iran controlled by the Islamists, by the Shia Islamists, Khomeini and the leaders of the Shia and their ideology. So the friction between the State of Israel started long time ago. I don't know if you remember the testimony of Yossi Cohen, head of Mossad, bringing the archive of from Iran, the nuclear archive, a testimony of a vital living testimony brought to Israel and presented also by Prime Minister Netanyahu in the United Nations, but also in the media, showing what is the intention of Iran in respect of nuclear capacity. So, you know, Israel, I think that the friction between Israel and Iran started long time ago.
But let's assume, Doron, that you are the chief of staff right now. What you will do? I mean, retaliate?
I gave interview
to the attack that we had last weekend. Can we attack? And can when you really retaliate?
I recommend not to attack, but and I gave interview 2 days ago. But I want to tell you what happened last Saturday. Last Saturday, after Israel was accused on killing 7 high-ranking officer of the Iranian regime in Damascus, Iran decided to revenge. Their revenge was launched by sending toward Israel more than 200 drones and more than 100 ballistic missiles and cruise missiles. About 330 drones and ballistic missiles and cruise missiles, all of them aimed to hit strategic positions in the state of Israel. And that was the revenge that was prepared by Iran. Luckily, Israel succeeded to intercept 99% of these 330 drones and ballistic missiles and cruise missiles, which is unprecedented success by all parameters. It happened because, number one, the coalition. First time Israel succeeded to establish a coalition with the United States, with France, United Kingdom, Jordan, and more countries. This is a huge, from my point of view, huge strategic victory of the State of Israel. If you remember the first Gulf War, 1991, when President Bush was president of the United States, and that time, United States also established coalition of 28 countries. There was a threat of the Syrians, for instance. If you bring Israel to be one of the participating countries in this coalition, the Arab countries leaving the coalition. There was a threat to break down the coalition. Right now, first time in the history of the State of Israel, Israel succeeded to establish a coalition of Arab countries against Iran. This is a huge strategic victory of the State of Israel. United States, Jordan, the Jordanian jets also intercepted some of the drones. Also, United States fighter intercepted some of the missiles that were shot from Iran. So this is a strategic victory of the State of Israel, preventing 99% of the missiles and drone. Only 5 missiles landed in Nevatim air base and did some damage to few airplanes, Hercules airplanes that were there. But however, we also need to take account of the Israel technological superiority. Israel is the first country in the world having the interception capacity of ballistic missiles above the atmosphere by a system named Arrow 2 and Arrow 3. This system that was developed here in Israel, by IAI, the Israel Aircraft Industry, and Rafael, Israel, the only country in the world having interception capacity of ballistic missiles in the atmosphere. Israel, as a matter of fact, some of the missiles were shot in November against Eilat, our south town in south of Israel, and some of the missiles were intercepted first time by the Arrow 3 system in November 10, I think it was first time the Houthis from Yemen also launched missiles from more than 1,000 kilometers against Eilat, and Israel succeeded to intercept. Since November 10 until now, Israel continued developing superiority by interception capacity in the atmosphere. And the last Saturday, Iranian attempt to revenge was shot down or intercepted by Israel military capacity. But as I said, which is not less important, is the strategic combination, the strategic coalition that united forces together with Israel to fight Iran. So now answering your question, Daniel, what next, or why not to respond now? Because we got huge strategic victory by establishing this coalition. We must continue fighting Iran, but not necessarily right now to attack militarily. How to continue fighting Iran? Isolate Iran, strengthening the coalition, this coalition, make a peace accord with the Saudis. A peace accord with the Saudis, I think it's a blow to Hamas and to the extremists, to the radical jihadists and extremists and the Shia regime in Iran, because the Saudis, Sunni and Saudis, a part of the coalition, the biggest country in the Gulf, oil supplier. When the Saudis join the state of Israel, it's a huge blow to the radical Islamists. So what I suggest right now, to strengthen the coalition, continue fighting as we did in the past, under the radar, continue launching some strikes again in Iran, but also economic sanction. Right now, I think some countries in Europe are united, like France, like United Kingdom. Today, for instance, I don't know if you heard, but if you heard the news, but France and United Kingdom spoke about banning any supply of drones or chips of parts that are sold by some of the European and other countries to Iran, that allow Iran to continue producing drones.
Yeah, and more sanctions from United States just launched as well. Doron, let's move for a second. My last question, and then we'll open for 2 or 3 questions from the community. In your position as the leader of the Jewish Agency, anti-Semitism, something that was raised from October 7 to numbers, and words and events that a disaster from what we have heard in Israel. What is your take from this? What you hear from Jewish communities around the world? Most of the people that gather today here in this gathering are from North America, but you hear from Jews from all over the world, from Europe, South America. What is your position in this issue as the head of the Jewish Agency?
Number one, the October 7 was the biggest crisis of the Jewish people all over the world and for the state of Israel. For the Jews all over the world, this is the biggest crisis since Holocaust, since Second World War. For the state of Israel, this is the biggest crisis since 48. As I said, about 150,000 Israelis evacuated like refugees here in the state of Israel. They did not return to their communities. The Jewish world is shaken all over the world. A huge rise of anti-Semitism, of in some places 400%, 600%, 800%. And also we see huge rise by opening files for Aliyah, showing interest to come to Israel. 16,000 youngsters arrived to volunteer since October 7. About 12,000 did Aliyah. 12,000 youngsters, Jewish youngsters, arrived to Israel. Many joined the military. We have 14 lone soldiers, Olim, that were killed since October 7. Thousands of solidarity missions arrived since October 7 to Israel, from United States, from Australia, from Canada, from South Africa, from Europe. Solidarity mission. Also, a lot of money was raised to protect Israel. What is this this event, this phenomenal? This phenomenal is a testimony that I think most of the Jews in the world feeling the crisis, most of the Jews in the world feeling concern, worry, fear due to the rise of anti-Semitism and the threat on the existence of the state of Israel. The state of Israel is a kind of guarantee for Jews all over the world. Every Jew in the world needs to ask himself, what happened to me if there is no state of Israel? I think if there is no state of Israel, there would be more hatred and more pogrom. It seems to me that the October 7 unleashed the world anti-Semitism. It seems to me that the anti-Semitism having two conditions, low and high. And suddenly, it like a volcano, it erupted, the anti-Semitism. So what we see that about $1 billion arrived by many donors, many Jews, that some of them arrived to Israel. Many of the donors first time donated to the state of Israel. Many, the Jewish Agency is the biggest NGO of the Jewish people. Jewish Agency is like a government of all the Jews in the world. According to Halakha, 16 million Jews, not according to Halakha, about 25, 26 million Jews in the world. According to my opinion, about 26 million Jews. As you know, the difference between Halakha and not Halakha, that Jew, from my opinion, is someone that born not to a Jewish mother, but a Jew father is of course, and of course, if he state I'm a Jew, so there are many more than the 16 million according to Halakha. The Jewish Agency is like the government of all the Jews in the world. This is NGO, it's non-profit organization. We are based on donation by two main sources, the JFNA, the Jewish Federation North America, from one side, all North America, from the other side, Keren HaYesod, which is the other world, exclude United States, North America. So we got a lot of money from Jews that never donated to the state of Israel due their concern from what happened on October 7. So what is the state of Israel need right now? I would say state of Israel need a lot of Aliyah. I would wish to the state of Israel to have about 1 million Olim in the next 5 years. As you remember, I hope all of you remember that 1990, 1991, 92, 93, 95, about 1 million Jews arrived from Russia. And they contribute the state of Israel very high standard on everything. If you want the theater, Gesher, based until now on people, immigrants who came from Russia. If you want politician like Avigdor Lieberman, if you want doctors, we have many doctors who came from Russia, high-tech business, scientists at the Weizmann Institute and the academy. So, you know, this is a boost to Israel economy by the 1 million arrived at the 90s from Russia. I wish the state of Israel also another wave of 1 million for the next few years, mainly from the West, from United States. The biggest Jewish community right now in the world after Israel is the United States, about 5 million Jews in the United States. I wish the state of Israel that many would come to support. Many from Australia, from Canada, from South Africa, for instance, about 55,000 Jews living in South Africa, and South Africa supported by Iran. And South Africa is the country that they came to the International Court in Hague and complained on Israel as performing genocide in Gaza, which is far, far, far away from truth. But that's it, that they did it. That the Jews in South Africa also at risk and danger. I wish us that most of them would come to Israel. So Israel need Aliyah. The need for Aliyah, for more Olim, not resulted only from this war. Just to remind all of us what happened before the war, what happened until October 6th, at the first 10 months of 2023, the polarization in Israel society, the protest against the government, and almost a civil war here in Israel. We need Aliyah also to balance demography. We remember how the population of the Orthodox in Israel is moving up, in every Haredi family, they bring about 8, 9, 10 children, and the secular families about 4. But in Israel, the growth of population in Israel in the modern countries is one of the biggest in the developing world, in the Western countries, 2.8. But we need, of course, we need, I'm telling you, you are from the Reform communities in the United States. There are many, I don't know if 1 or 2 million reformists or 3 million reformists and conservatives. We need many from you, liberal, academic, professional, come to Israel, support Israel, also make the influence of your concept of living. It's important. So this is one of the challenge of the state of Israel right now.
It's a beautiful call, Doron. It's a call that we should all hear and consider that. I think that in this point, maybe Doron will get to 2 or 3 questions from the community that was gathered.
I'm ready.
Honor you. And I will take this opportunity before allow Edi to go to that point of questioning, is to say toda to you for your time this evening in Israel clock, but mainly for the work that we did through the years in the Israeli army as a soldier, as a fighter, but later in the civil society in Israel. The beautiful village that you built far on Halat Iran that brought you the Israeli prize. It's really so much in the Israeli eyes. I think Doron is one of the symbol of the good side of the Israeli society, something that we didn't see a lot until October 7 during the last year or so. So Edith, please, the questions.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm actually going to ask Alan to unmute yourself if you can and ask your question.
Yes, Alan. Just unmute. Please unmute. You're on mute, right?
And I think I'm unmuted.
There you go.
Thank you.
From California.
Thank you. Thank you, General. This was a very good lecture. I listened to lots of things. So my question is, sitting here in California, and in places far away from Israel and watch the events. Is from the role you have in your personal judgment, what can I do? What can people like me do to help Israel weather the storms we're enduring? And I guess part of the answer is make Aliyah. So I get that, and we get that, and that is never out of my mind totally for me. But just for people not making Aliyah, what can we do to help you?
I think number one, visit Israel, solidarity mission, support Israel in the media, support Israel in the United States campuses and universities. There's a huge complaint on anti-Semitism in United States, in universities and campuses. The ADL is doing great work, the Anti-Defamation League. We have our own emissaries in the United States. We may join with them. We may support the IAC, the Israel American Council. About 800,000 Israelis living in the United States. I think we need to join forces. So many times I feel that we, the Jews, we are divided. You know, that the reformists there, the conservatives, the Orthodox, everyone fighting his own battle. We need to join forces right now. This is time to join forces. This is time to strengthen the communities. You asked, what can you do in the United States to join the Jewish community in the United States? More Jewish education. You started by a beautiful prayer here. It's wonderful. Yes, more Jewish education, more speak about among the community, about the state of Israel, about please invite some of the lecturers, some of the people who are stationed. We have in the United States, in California, the businessmen, the academy, the researchers, the people. My brother lived in Palo Alto. He's an engineer. He's an electronic engineer. He lived in about 4 years in Palo Alto. There are about 10,000 Israelis living in Palo Alto and Cupertino, and invite them to speak, to tell about what they do in the United States, and bring our heart closer together. And of course, more money for the Federation, for the Jewish Federation, for the local needs, for the needs of the Jewish community in United States. Number one, to strengthen Jewish community, to strengthen the brotherhood, the friendship, fighting anti-Semitism in United States, fighting also the values of United States. If United States continue being so polarized and anti-Semitic, it maybe lose the democracy. So it's a from my point of view, it's a huge threat of the United States, inside the United States. The growth, the greater voice and actions of anti-Semitic, also the greater risk that the United States will lose part of the democratic values. So
Thank you.
that's more or less, and of course more everything that in respect to it. This is the spectrum. Many actions in the United States, in the Jewish community in the United States, many actions that can be taken in Israel, and of course send the young generation by birthright or journey, Masa, to visit Israel, to volunteer in Israel. They may come for 2 weeks or 1 month, or we have programs of 3 months to 1 year. We have a journey for doctors, journey for businessmen, journey for educators. So yes, I'm very much encourage these programs that I think would empower the connections between your communities in California and the state of Israel.
And I will,
thank you.
I will add to this support our reform movement in Israel, the rebuild of our movement in Israel. The work that we do, I think, influenced the story.
1 minute. My family.
Yeah. Edith, maybe we'll go to the second question.
Yes, I have Ellen Moore. Ellen, do you want to unmute yourself?
Yes, thank you, Adi. Thank you very much for this information. I speak with people in our community all the time, And
And Ellen,
there,
where are you coming from? Where are you?
I'm calling from New Haven, Connecticut. My son is an IDF officer. He made Aliyah 3 years ago, and like everyone there, he is in the thick of it in one way or another every day. So I speak with people in our community all the time, and there's such disparate opinions, and that's what it is. Opinions. It's not fact-based, it's mostly emotional, and they layer on the, mostly academic arguments of settler colonial paradigms of they graft on equality arguments. So they use this as a lever to launch into a kind of hidden anti-Semitic argument. It's very onerous on people in our community, and we gather against ceasefire resolutions and the like, and to fend off opinions that seem to be making a monolith of Hamas and Palestinians, although it's so complicated. So I just thank you for this information, for the numbers, for the insight, for the expertise. It's really critical to our work here. I'm going to listen again to the recording when it comes out. How do we stay in touch with you to bring speakers to our groups?
No problem, Daniel. Mayor Azari, the Rabbi Azari knows all the contact information. My bureau here in Israel, and I'm ready for more lectures and more information. We have about 300 emissaries in the United States, and about 100 emissaries in the United States working in campus and universities. We are ready to continue supporting the Jewish communities in the United States, giving more information about the conflict, and of course, I'm certain that we are right in our battles. And I want to emphasize, we are fighting not for revenge or punishing Hamas or Iran or Syrian or Hezbollah. We are fighting for our values. We are fighting for our existence. Israel is the only Jewish state in the world. It's the only democracy in the Middle East. I know there is also threat on the democracy, as you saw in the protest inside Israel, but Israel is the only democracy in the Middle East, and I'm certain on the moral and ethical values of the IDF and the huge effort of our soldiers not to hit innocents. The destruction that you see in Gaza, and I know there's a lot of destruction, but you need to understand that it's due the simple fact that Hamas used the human shield, and the destruction is caused due this simple fact that most of Hamas terrorists end tunneling under the building, under the construction. All this is the reason of the destruction. But in order to guarantee the future, we need to also to speak about Gaza in the future, about moderate Palestinian to lead the Palestinian population, the 2 million Palestinians living in Gaza. We need a moderate Palestinian that be supported by international community and give them a hope also. We need to, in every prayer of Jews every day, we say, Adonai oz le'amo iten, Adonai yevarech et amo beshalom. I think that the idea for peace is so deeply rooted in Judaism, in the prayer of a daily prayer of Jews. And we are for tikkun olam, we are for the chesed, for the compassion, for unconditional love, for human being, and for inclusion. And we must be inclusive society. That this is the state of Israel, that the state of Israel should be. That's our values, the mutual responsibility. And the motivation that we all see among the Israeli soldiers resulted from the simple fact that the Israelis and most of the IDF based on reservists, those who were, you know, they came from they left the families and they left the business. More than 300,000 reservist soldiers came to fight, ready to sacrifice their life to protect the country. And the motivation of the Israeli soldiers resulted from the fact that they are loading the responsibility on their shoulders and ready to sacrifice. Just like that. They are ready to die for the state of Israel, just like that. It doesn't matter if prime ministers say I'm responsible or not. Every soldier in the IDF saying I'm responsible to the shame of October 7. We take this responsibility on our shoulders, and we are fighting to guarantee the existence of the state of Israel. This is our values, and we are here to do good, not to fight. You know, the destiny of Jews is not battles and fighting. You know, just before the war, what we said, the startup nation. We spoke about the technology, we spoke about the culture, and you know, when every field you take in Israel, you see new development, the number of Nobel Prize winner or whatever. Open society, very pluralistic, and we need to continue flourishing and be very open, very democratic, Jewish, liberal, and will be.
I would like to add to your words, Doron, to Ellen, that we'll be very happy to connect you with the emissaries of the Jewish Agency, me or any other rabbi from the staff of Daniel Centers. Will be ready to speak with your community, to visit you. As Doron says, we have to build bridges. We have to do that, and we have to do that in this time. It's so important to you and to us, and to us. I think it is last question, and we'll release the general.
I think we're after
So much
1
to do.
o'clock, and so I think we've got everybody has asked, and we don't want to take up any more of the chairman's time, but we thank everyone for joining today, and stay tuned for additional information. And
I think that Joyce wanted to ask. So
oh, I'm sorry, I must have missed it. I don't think
Joyce, did you? I wanted to ask from Milano.
So last question.
Last question for Milano, yeah.
Milano.
Joyce, where are you? You should unmute yourself.
Okay, I managed to unmute. Okay, so here's my question. We talk about nation building of the Palestinian people, you know, the day after or the week after or whatever. Okay, and then in order to do that, they talk about forming a coalition, which would of course include and maybe be central with the Sunni alliances, so Saudi Arabia, Egypt, Jordan. But the question is, how we expect the Palestinian people to have a democracy. How do we think it's reasonable to expect that a democracy be established in whatever might be the new Palestine?
You know, the democracy, I think it's a culture. It's a culture of people. If you see the culture of Judaism, you see Bet Hillel, Bet Shammai, you see a tradition of debate for a long time. You know, and maybe the Jews are too much debating. And we say that one of the problems of the state of Israel that we have 8 million potential prime minister. Everyone... Yeah, but it's a question. It's a cultural question. You know, right now we don't see, or we almost do not see, Arab or Islamist democracy. We don't see. Iran is not democracy, and there was a revolution, and they pushed away the Shah, and Syria is not democracy, and Egypt and Jordan and even the Gulf countries, which having huge resources and sitting on the oil, and this is not democracy. They're open to the West, and Dubai and Abu Dhabi and Bahrain and Qatar, but you see the wealth, but this is not a culture of democracy. So how we would make the Palestinian democracy, the democracy must come from inside, not from outside. You cannot force on people to be democracy. United States, we remember what happened after the Second World War. We see what happened in Russia. You want to call Russia a democracy or China democracy. With the criteria of democracy, having free speech, having criticism, and an election, and a real election, not the last election in Russia. What was their results, or last election in Egypt. This is not a real democracy. So I don't see right now how we make the Palestinian from outside, how we make them democracy. It's more important that we'll have a coexistence, a peaceful coexistence side by side, and leave the arms aside, and most of their investment would be concentrated for the benefit of the people, for good education, for good public life, for good health system, for good industry and agriculture and theater and music and so on, not for tunneling and missiles. Gaza Strip is 60 kilometers from Tel Aviv, and they produce about 20,000 rockets and missiles, and most of their energy and resources was put in order to guarantee destruction of the state of Israel. They spoke about it. They didn't change the convention of Hamas, and then they continue.
Yeah.
So we are
Okay.
forced. I'm telling you, you go to Israel and ask every Jew mother, what you want your son or daughter to be? They won't say a soldier. I said reservist. Most of IDF based on reservist, more than 300,000 reservist soldiers. Well, they're reservists. They do training 1 month a year, 30 days a year. That's all. Or if he's a pilot, most of the pilots in Air Force, they're also pilots in El Al. They also commercial pilots. And one day a week, they come to their squadron for training. So most of the soldiers in the IDF, they're engineers, they are lawyers, they are academic, they are researchers at the Weizmann Institute. They do both. Some of them professors, some of them leading companies, successful companies, and many inventions that were done in Israel. Of course, maybe it started in developing something for the IDF, but I think most of the energy of the Israelis, also the soldiers, in the civil life, not in the military, and the vision and the dreams of the Israeli citizens, that we will continue developing our country in our civil life, not in military.
Right.
This is
Okay. Thank you. Yeah. Super.
Thank you, Joyce.
Thank you.
I will be first, thank you, Doron, for your participation. I know that your time is very valuable. Continue the work that you do in the Jewish Agency in behalf of all of us, Jews in Israel and Jews all over the world. The Jewish Agency did a wonderful job since October 7, supporting refugees. As Doron said, more than 150,000 Israelis living outside of the home. The Jewish Agency is there for them, doing so much activities and supporting the reform movement. You should remember that. The Jewish Agency supporting the conservative, the reform movement. And I think we should put that more and more in the map of the story that we tell to ourselves and through the Jewish Agency. Doron, thank you for your support to our movement, support to the State of Israel, and to whom you are, the mensch that you are in your life as a general, later in the civil society, and today in the Jewish Agency. And good luck. And to all of us, Chag Sameach.
Chag Sameach. Thank you so much.
Meaningful for Passover. And let's hope that next year we won't be somehow stuck in this situation that we are right now. We say in Hebrew, לשחרר אותנו ממיצרי חיינו, to release us from the problems, obstacles, and whatever we have in our life. Let's hope. So חג שמח and have a nice and meaningful Passover. תודה רבה. דורון,
Thank you so
הרבה
much.
תורה לך. תודה, תודה.
Thank you, Mayor. Bye.
ביי ביי.
Thank you so much. חג שמח.